already become hellholes, a crime-ridden, gang-infested, terror-filled dumping ground, bloodshed, chaos, and violent crime. A deluge of illegals pouring in by the millions and millions. Drug dealers, human traffickers, bloodthirsty terrorists, savage gang members, pedophiles, stone-cold killers. You can't walk across the street to get a loaf of bread, you get shot.
Okay, we all know that Trump lies. He's mentally unwell. But there are two types of lies. One is obvious, and it's mostly party to his malignant, narcissistic personality.
I'm a better-looking person than Kamala.
The other, well, it's really dangerous.
Blow it to smithereens. You can't do that.
Trump lies about having been on the cover of Time, which he wasn't, or lies about being a good golfer, which he isn't, or lies about his huge crowds, which they aren't. But now he's lying in the middle of a legitimate emergency with hundreds of Americans dead and hundreds more missing. And that threatens people's lives.
President Biden headed to North Carolina. Meanwhile, former President Donald Trump visited Georgia yesterday, where he falsely claimed several times the White House is ignoring the storm. It is not, of course, and ignoring requests from the state's Republican governor, Brian Kemp.
The governor's doing a very good job. He's having a hard time getting the president on the phone. I guess they're not being responsive. The federal government is not being responsive. But they're having a very hard time getting the president on the phone. He won't get on, and of course the vice president, she's out someplace campaigning, looking for money. The governor needs to. He's been trying to get them, and I'm sure they're going to come through. But he's been calling the president, hasn't been able to get him.
Governor Hulk Hogan's place on the beach got hit pretty bad. Yesterday,
no, he hasn't. That's an utter lie. Earlier in the day, Governor Kemp told reporters he did speak with President Biden and the president offered his assistance.
The president just called me yesterday afternoon. I missed him and called him right back. And he just said, hey, what do you need? And I told him, you know, we got what we need. We'll work through the federal process. He offered that if there's other things we need, just to call him directly, which I appreciate that.
He is lying. Let me get this straight. He's lying. And the governor told him he was lying. The governor told him he was lying. I've spoken to the governor, spending time with him, and he told me he's lying. I don't know why he does this. And the reason I get so angry about it, I don't care about what he says about me, but I care what he communicates to the people that are in need. He implies that we're not doing everything possible. We are. We are.
You know, Jonathan Lemire, this is a particularly disgusting lie. When the people there need help, suggesting that the White House and FEMA, because Democrats don't want Donald Trump to win, of course, it all comes back to him or turning their back on him. He's also suggested that the White House and this federal government is ignoring MAGA supporters in red counties. That's, of course, not true. Just not even in this moment of destruction and devastation and people needing clarity and help so badly, can't even put his ego and his cheap insults aside in this moment.
Refuses to do it. Rooting against the country is one of the themes from Donald Trump. And this is a moment where this is a particularly dangerous lie, because if he's out there saying, well, hey, the federal government's ignoring those who are impacted by the storm, that may discourage those impacted by the storm from even seeking help. And state and federal officials are saying, look, we're here, reach out to us, we're trying to reach you, we're trying to assist you in this time of need. But Donald Trump only thinking about himself. He, of course, was in Georgia yesterday, potentially a strain on resources there, but he wanted to go to have the political photo op. Vice President Harris says she will go in the days ahead, but she wants to make sure that she's not an unnecessary distraction from recovery efforts, Caddy. And this is also, in terms of Trump, and Charlie Sykes said this a little earlier this morning, it's not just like Trump is these days shading the truth or exaggerating. He's just flat out lying.
Now, here's why this is dangerous. If Trump will lie to promote his own personal interest while American lives are in danger, if he's elected, can you imagine what the next 4 years portend?
No, I would not protect you. In fact, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want.
Trump has lied repeatedly about his contacts with Russia.
The Russia hoax is finally dead.
But it's not a hoax. Okay, remember, this is the guy who bankrupted a casino, which, as you can see from this chart, is almost impossible to do. So going back to the early 2000s, when American banks would no longer lend him money, Trump was borrowing money from Russia, which means Putin.
Here's how Dodson remembers the conversation.
I said to Eric, well, you're the head of his golf services development company. Who's funding all this? I said, which American banks? And he said, we don't rely on American banks. And I said, no kidding. I think I said, so who is it, the Israelis or the Chinese? Because they are the ones that were really spending money. I remember very clearly what he said. He said, no, we don't need American banks. We have all the funding we need out of Russia.
He's lied about Russia at every turn, praising Putin and attacking Ukraine, and even telling Putin in so many words that if you help me win,
I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want.
But Trump also has side business interests with our other enemy, China. They may be a U.S. trading partner, but they're also a partner to Ivanka. The Chinese government granted a total of 41 trademarks to companies linked to Ivanka Trump by April of 2019. We don't know how much she made. Numbers go from 40 to 600 million, but you get the point. Trump, of course, denies any favors were exchanged.
China.
But then there was a $2 billion of Saudis invested with his son-in-law, Jared Kushner. Isn't that convenient? And when our intelligence services concluded that Mohammed bin Salman had an American journalist who was very critical of bin Salman cut up into pieces while in Istanbul, Trump defended the Saudi prince and prime minister.
He denies it vehemently.
U.S. President Donald Trump defending the Saudi leadership, despite U.S. media reports that the CIA concluded Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman ordered Jamal Khashoggi's killing.
They do point out certain things, and in pointing out those things, you can conclude that maybe he did or maybe he didn't. But that was another part of the false reporting.
Trump will lie about anything, and the bar has both low and high moments, some of which would be funny if every thing wasn't at stake.
Eating the dogs.
But here's the skinny. Trump is a troubled, sick man who tapped into a dark undercurrent in the United States. His base is underwater, trapped in an economic cauldron. They live in states with generational substandard schools and infrastructure. But instead of using the federal government to build back their cities, roads, and educational base, Trump tells them to attack drag queens.
Drag shows, sexually explicit
things that almost nobody in this room wants, who I think 85-90% of the country doesn't want if they actually
I absolutely
know about
agree
it.
with you.
But the transgender thing is incredible. Think of it. Your kid goes to school and comes home a few days later with an operation. The school decides what's going to happen with your child. And you know, many of these childs 15 years later say, what the hell happened?
Fat Donnie never speaks to the issues that are keeping these people down. He lies about immigrants and crime, creating an hysterical paranoia with no basis in fact.
So when I return to the White House, we will stop the plunder, rape, slaughter, and destruction of our American suburbs.
Trump lies about Biden not helping red states during a national crisis, and that won't be heard on Fox News, which is a whole nother story of deceit and betrayal, one that creates deep and ugly divisions in American culture. Because if it were true that Biden was purposely doling out assistance only to Democrats, well, that would be criminal, but it's not true. But here's the problem. Everything I told you here is just a small slice of Trump's attack on America. And Fox News' determination to play to Trump's base, along with Trump's increasing number of menacing lies, has us in a very dangerous, precarious position. While Trump supports Russia over Ukraine, he regularly threatens Iran with mass destruction.
If I were the president, I would inform the threatening country, in this case Iran, that if you do anything to harm this person, we are going to blow your largest cities and the country itself to smithereens. We're going to blow it to smithereens. You can't do that.
This in an area that needs little help in amping up the violent rhetoric. Trump's lies are escalating, and his promise to abandon NATO isn't just bad for our allies, it will make America a target for terrorism, and we will be on our own. As Trump attacks Germany, France, the UK, and the rest of our European allies, NATO members will not help us with the intelligence we need. I mean, come on, would you trust this?
Eating the pets of the people that live there.
And one more thing. As Trump, Republicans, and Fox News mock climate change.
It's freezing. We need some global warming.
Yet another series of tropical depressions move toward our coast. You know, it's not the least bit ironic that the art of the deal was ghostwritten, as Trump's 6 bankruptcies and his failing Truth Social will attest. But I will give Trump credit, should he write The Art of the Lie, he would be supremely qualified. The question is, if he's elected, will there be anyone left to read it?
Goddamn right.
I don't want to talk about this stuff.
It's not fair.
I'm ready. Let's go.
This isn't their Republican Party anymore.
Who's with me?
Am I wrong?
Yes.
Tick-tock.
You're in a lot of trouble, Donnie.
I think he's crazy.
I'm Chip Franklin.